Going on the hearing for Senate Bill 527 and let the rest of the committee catch up, hopefully. If we have time at the end, we'll do some bill introductions. What we are going to do, by the way, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, still not quite there. We got 4. Can we do a bill introductions 4? Oh, I'm 5. Okay, I guess that. Duh. I can't. It's been a rough morning already, folks. Okay, we can do bill introductions now. Are there any bill introductions? Okay, Senator Holscher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I have RS 3661, and this is expanding the silver alert system.
Committee, any objections or questions? If none, we will introduce that bill. And any other bill introductions? Seeing none, now we will move on to Senate Bill 527 and have Jason give us an explanation. Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senate Bill 527 would create a new crime of coercion to obtain an abortion. The crime is defined in Section 1 of the bill as engaging in coercion with the knowledge that a woman is pregnant with the intent to compel such woman to obtain an abortion, and such woman has expressed her desire to not obtain an abortion. Coercion is defined in the bill starting in line 26 on page 1 as threatening to harm or physically restrain a person, creating or executing a plan to cause a person to believe that financial harm or restraint will occur if they did not perform the required act. Abusing or threatening to abuse the legal system, including threats of arrest or deportation of a person, destroying, concealing, removing, confiscating, possessing a person's passport or other immigration document, or controlling a person's access to a controlled substance. Any of those would meet the definition of coercion under this new crime. The penalties are a little bit unique for this. They are unclassified person felonies, generally punishable by 30 days to 1 year imprisonment and a fine of $500 to $5,000. However, if the father of the unborn child is 18 years of age or older and the mother is a minor, then the penalty increases from to 90 days to a year imprisonment and $1,000 to $10,000 fine. The other thing the bill does is it amends a sentencing statute 21-6804 to create a sentencing enhancement provision. This is on pages 12 and 13 of the bill. This new enhancement for person felonies that are listed there, lines 28 through 33 on page 12 of the bill. If those person felonies are committed with the intent to compel a pregnant woman to obtain an abortion when she's expressed her desire to not obtain an abortion, then the severity level for the underlying offense would be increased by 1 level. If that intent is proven. Those person felonies include kidnapping, interference with parental custody, criminal restraint, threat, assault, battery, human trafficking, stalking, blackmail, endangerment of a person, sex-related crimes such as rape, sodomy, battery, indecent liberties with a child, solicitation, exploitation, and sexual extortion, and then also endangering a child, child abuse, incest, and child abandonment. All of those person felonies are included in that enhancement provision. So if any of those offenses are committed with the added intent of coercion to compel a woman to obtain an abortion she does not want, then the severity level for that offense would increase 1 level over the current statutory penalty for those offenses. These provisions will go into effect on July 1st of this year if enacted. I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you, Jason. Committee, any questions? Senator Longvine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason, I was trying to follow along, but then I looked at the fiscal note, and the fiscal note indicates that the prison sentence could be life imprisonment with no eligible for parole, or a reduced sentence of the first 25 years of imprisonment. Is that correct?
That's for the highest severity level of those person felonies. So if you're looking at like a severity level 1 person felony, something along those lines, then you're looking at those lifetime imprisonments. A lot of these felonies do not rise that level. They would be more mid-level felonies. So like a level 5 would increase to a level 4 severity level. But yeah, in the case of a severity level 1, you would potentially be looking at some of those kinds of long-term incarcerations.
Any other questions, committee? Senator Fasquedo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason, so would you describe again the difference of the penalty of the father over 18 versus the other penalties?
Sure. So for the new crime that's defined in Section 1, a general offense is punishable by 30 days to a year imprisonment and a fine of $500 to $5,000. But if it's the father is over 18 and the mother is a minor, and they're convicted of this coercion to obtain an abortion, then the penalty increases from 90 days to a year imprisonment, and the fine increases minimum of $1,000, maximum of $10,000.
Committee, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Jason. We have 4 oral proponents today. What I'm going to do is give a block of about 15 minutes maximum for the oral proponents, I mean. Sorry about that. It's a rough day, like I said already. Can't even count this morning. I'm not going to restrict any one proponent to any specific time, but just be cognizant of the people behind you. So up first is Representative Rebecca Schmoe from District 59. Rebecca.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee. When we're talking about coercion in order to obtain an abortion, that really expands a lot of different instances. We're talking about anything from a boyfriend saying, you cannot do this, absolutely not, you will not saddle me with child support over this. It can be a spouse saying, no, we're making this appointment, you're going, because we're not paying for another kid. It could be a parent saying, you have no idea what you have done to our reputation. I have already made this appointment. You will keep it if you want to continue to live in my house. It can be a human trafficker who says, you will terminate this pregnancy. I don't care that you want to keep this child. You will terminate, or else I'm not going to provide you with your documents, or I will never let you see your family again. In my case, it was a medical professional who told me that I was going to die, that I was going to force my family to watch me bleed internally and die. I was called selfish at least 10 times that I tried to count, and then I stopped counting. It was over an hour of someone telling me the most gruesome stories that you can think of. And at one point he asked me what kind of flowers I wanted at my funeral so that he could write it down, so that he could let my family know. Because if I made the selfish decision to try to carry this child, that's what it was going to lead to. I say all that to say that I was pressured for over an hour and told that I could not leave the doctor's office until I made the appointment to terminate. A nurse finally came in and ushered him to the next patient, and she told me, she said, listen, just call me in the morning, we'll set the appointment. You just need to get it done. Prior to that, I was told that it was a non-issue. It was going to be an outpatient service, and I'll never have to think about it again. Nobody even had to know. When I left that appointment and I talked to the father. We determined that we were going to at least get a second opinion. On my second opinion, that doctor, the next doctor said, I have no idea why he would say those things to you. You're going to be high risk. You can do this. We can do this. And we did. And not only did my baby survive, and I survived, but he is now 21 years old, and he's absolutely amazing, and I wouldn't trade a moment of time with him. And I wouldn't rob everyone who has had the opportunity to meet him. I wouldn't rob that from the world. Because I don't know what his purpose is in life. I don't know what he's going to do. But the pressure I felt in that room, that's abuse. Coercion is wrong. Coercion is a form of abuse. We see it all the time, and sometimes we recognize it, and sometimes we don't. And this really helps clarify that not only is it wrong, but we as a state are saying that we are not going to force women to abort their children against their will. Now, I appreciate your time this morning. Now, I will stand for questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Rebecca. We'll hold for questions until all the oral proponents have testified. Up next is Jeannie Godden, Director of Government Relations for Kansas for Life. Jeannie.
Good morning, Chairman Thompson, members of the committee. I'm Jean Gowden, Director of Government Relations with Kansans for Life. Senate Bill 527, as you heard, creates a crime of unlawful coercion to compel a woman to have an abortion that she does not want, and of course provides various penalties for that particular offense. But I want to just say specifically that in a recent study of more than 1,000 American women, the ones who had abortions revealed that for 2/3 of them, the abortion was unwanted, coerced, or otherwise inconsistent with their own values and preferences. So for too many women, the right to choose abortion has become a duty to have an abortion for the benefit of other people. And that pressure often rises to the level of coercion as things like housing, career and educational opportunities, and other financial support are used as leverage to force women to have abortions. These tactics may even escalate into harassment and threats of physical harm. And I just want to say that this abortion coercion legislation can be an important safeguard for women who are victims of human trafficking. Any number of other people may also use coercive tactics outside of an intimate partner, which, by the way, is those acts by intimate partners are covered under several domestic violence statutes already in law. So there are any number of other people who can force a woman to have an abortion she does not want, including employers, athletic coaches, school staff, and sexual abusers. So SB 527 will give women who are facing coercion to have an abortion the legal backing they need, and it's an additional tool for prosecutors to seek justice for these women. Around 20 states already have laws against abortion coercion, and it's becoming increasingly more common, and it's actually even happened here in Kansas. And I cite some links for you to look at to some of those situations. So for those who believe abortion is a woman's choice, should be a woman's choice, I ask you to join us in support of 527 to ensure it truly is her choice and not someone else's. And I ask for the committee to pass the bill out favorably, and I'll stand for questions later.
Thank you, Jean. Up next, Lucretia Knoll, Public Policy Specialist for Kansas Catholic Conference.
Good morning, Chair Thompson and committee members. I'm Lucretia Knoll, the Public Policy Specialist with the Kansas Catholic Conference. I represent the Catholic Bishops of Kansas. Thank you for allowing me to provide support for SB 527, you have my written testimony in front of you. You also should have written testimony from Haley Thomas of A Better Choice and Terry Hunt of Project to Restore. And before I start diving a little into mine, I want to highlight some of the items from their testimony. Haley from A Better Choice, which is down in Wichita, talks of a couple stories that they've experienced at A Better Choice. The first one she highlights is a pregnant teen who was wanting to keep her child. She had support from the baby's father, support of other family and friends, but her mother was adamant that she make an appointment and terminate her pregnancy. So she came into A Better Choice. Thankfully, at A Better Choice, they do one-on-one private sessions with the pregnant women. And in that counseling session, they found out that not only the teen's mother was pressuring her to abort, but was being verbally and physically abusive, enough so that they had to file a DCF report and get authorities involved. Another mother that they helped was a mother who was already had children, was excited to be expecting again, and found herself in a high-risk pregnancy, and her doctor and multiple doctors after were encouraging her to terminate her pregnancy because it was a high-risk pregnancy. Thankfully, through the help of A Better Choice, they were able to find her a high-risk pregnancy doctor, and her and baby boy are now doing well. The other testimony there is Terry from Project to Restore. For anybody maybe in the Topeka area, Project to Restore is a long-term restoration home for women recovering from commercial sex trafficking here in Topeka. And in her testimony, Terry just shares stories from women that she has encountered and helped who were forced to have abortions through their trafficker. One such trafficking survivor was only 27 years old, had been pregnant 12 times. And out of those 12 times, she informed Terry that a few were from miscarriages, but many were from forced abortions from the trafficker. To highlight the evils of sex trafficking even more, this fall I had the opportunity to attend a conference, and I got to listen to a sex trafficking survivor speak. And she mentioned that herself and many of the other women actually wanted to get pregnant. They were hopeful to be pregnant because they thought being pregnant was their way out of sex trafficking, or at least would give them a break, because they were often being sold a dozen or more times a day. However, they were completely wrong. When they found themselves pregnant, the traffickers would instantly just take them to an abortion facility to force them to have the abortion, because at the end of the day, the trafficker only cares about one thing, and that's making a profit. And with that, they were forced to have these abortions, and that would quickly put these women back out on the streets. Some of these women, just as the speaker mentioned, that some of them would be put back on the street within 24 hours of having their abortion. Another lady she worked with even admitted that she had had 17 forced abortions, all at the hands of her trafficker, because again, sex trafficking is a $150 billion industry, so these traffickers only care about one thing, and that's making a profit. Now with Kansas, because of our location, we're known as a supplier state for traffickers, and I think this bill is going to allow us to help women in Kansas who are trapped in the slavery of sex trafficking by protecting them from coerced abortions. And these women deserve better, and all women deserve better, and I ask that you support SB 527, and I'll stand for questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Lucretia. And finally, we have Brittany Jones. Brittany, looks like you've got about 3.5 minutes.
I will keep it as brief as possible, so as to respect y'all's time. My name is Brittany Jones. I am the Director of Policy and Engagement for Kansas Family Voice, and we care deeply about ensuring women are not coerced into abortion, and so we believe that SB 527 does just that. Currently, there is not a law that explicitly gives a woman the ability to hold those accountable who might force her to have an abortion. It's not covered currently under domestic violence statutes, because of who might force her to have this abortion. It doesn't necessarily have to be an intimate partner like we see in domestic violence statutes. It's broader than that. And so we ask that when you consider this bill to be very focused on the issue of abortion here. There are lots of different domestic violence statutes, and if changes need to be made to those, we ask that you do that in a separate bill. But we believe SB 527 is very much focused on the issue of abortion and being coerced into abortion. And however you feel about abortion, being coerced into that is not something that we believe this body should support. We do know this is happening. The reports have already been discussed today, but we also know that this is specifically happening often for women who are being trafficked. And so it is important that this body protect those women and give them their agency back, give them the ability to fight back against their abusers. So we ask that you report SB 527 out favorably, and I stand open for questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Brittany. Committee, we have a couple of written proponents who've provided testimony, and at this point, I'll open up to questions for any of our oral proponents from the committee. Committee, any question? Senator Falscadeau.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is for Lucretia. So from a policy perspective, how would we enforce this? So is it just her word against those who are potentially forcing her, for lack of a better word to use? How would we enforce it? Or prove it, rather?
Chair Thompson, Senator Falscadeau, thank you for the question. That might be more of a legal question that maybe Ms. Jones, as an attorney, might be able to better answer how that will be implemented legally. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, committee? I don't see. Yes. Brittany, yeah.
Brittany Jones, Director of Policy and Engagement, Kansas Family Voice. The prosecutor, that'd be at his discretion. But of course, the woman would report that, and the prosecutor could decide whether to bring that case if he had enough evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure thing. Senator Holscher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I do think coercion is an issue, and I have concerns in that regard. So I just, for clarification purposes, and whoever wants to answer, there's nothing in this bill, though, in regard to coercion through intentionally exposing a partner to sexually transmitted disease, or coercion by destroying contraception, or anything, any of those types of coercion.
Jones, Director of Policy and Engagement, Chairman Thompson, Senator Holscher. This is specific to abortion coercion. While we believe that those forms of coercion are also wrong, those are typically done by have to be an intimate partner. I think what you just described should be covered under domestic violence statutes. If they're not, I would encourage this body to look at those statutes and make sure that that's protected and that women are protected in those instances. But SB 527 is specifically about abortion coercion.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll move on to our neutral oral testimony with Tessa Cox from the Charlotte Lozier Institute. Tessa is via WebEx. Tessa, we'll give you about 3 minutes. Do we have Tessa on there? Okay.
Can you see me and hear me?
We can hear you right now. Can't see you yet, but you can go ahead.
Can you see me?
There we go. Now we're cooking.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Chairman Thompson and members of the committee, I'm Tessa Long-Bonds-Cox. I'm a senior research associate at the Charlotte Lozier Institute, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk about this important issue today. And I would particularly like to draw your attention to a few key findings from a recent study that I co-authored, looking at the experiences of 1,000 American women, including 200 who had a history of abortion. And this is similar to the national average of women who have had an abortion. And over 60% of these women who had had an abortion reported feeling pressure, whether financial, circumstantial, or from other people in their lives, to choose an abortion. And women who felt that pressure from other people in their lives reported much more negative emotional and mental outcomes that they attributed to their abortions. Almost 70% of the women did not want the abortion, and they felt it was inconsistent or contrary with their own values and preferences. And this includes 10% who felt coerced. And 60% would have preferred to give birth if they had more emotional support or financial security. And this adds to other research, including a recent poll by the BBC that found that 15% of all women in the United Kingdom have experienced pressure to undergo an unwanted abortion. And there are multiple examples of women being given abortion drugs without their knowledge or consent in order to force an abortion. And just recently, a lawyer in Texas went to prison after repeatedly attempting to dose his pregnant ex-wife with abortion-inducing drugs. Research also shows that victims of human trafficking have frequent contact with abortion centers and are at high risk of having abortions against their will. The prevention of coerced abortion is of concern to both pro-life and pro-choice Americans. So I want to thank you for allowing me to provide information on this, and I stand for questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Tessa. Committee, any questions for Tessa at all? Seeing none, we appreciate, Senator Holscher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for appearing via WebEx. And one of your studies was cited by Jean, I believe. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes. That sounded like she was citing one of them in her testimony.
Okay. And then I was just doing some research earlier, and it sounds like your studies have come under quite a bit of scrutiny. Would you care to comment?
Could you elaborate?
In terms of being valid studies?
Well, I would have to address the particular criticism to, provide a full response, and I'm certainly happy to follow up afterward if that would be helpful. But I can say that these studies that I've cited here were both published in peer-reviewed journals, so went through the peer review process, and we certainly stand by the findings. So would certainly be happy, though, to provide any clarity or address any concerns that you or the other members might have.
Okay, yeah, no, I have several concerns based upon, like I said, some research that I saw out there saying that studies had been peer reviewed by colleagues and there were fundamental problems with the study design and methodology. So I just leave that for the body.
Well, certainly, if you have any, I would be happy to address any of those methodological concerns that you or anyone else might have.
And if, Senator, if you'd like to provide Sheila with those specific studies, she could get them to Tessa for her to be able to provide some kind of a response. I'd appreciate that. Senator Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Tessa. In your research, where do women turn for help when they're caught in these situations?
Thank you for the question. So my studies did not look at that question specifically, but certainly other research suggests that many women look to pregnancy centers for help when they are experiencing pressure or just trying to deal with all of the other issues that can influence their decision to have an abortion. So there are around 2,700 pregnancy centers across the U.S., and they can provide support and resources, both that material support that many women in our study indicated that they were looking for, but then also the emotional support that many said that they also desired and felt like they hadn't had.
Any other questions, committee? Seeing none, thank you, Tessa. We appreciate that. We have one neutral written testimony provided by Michelle McCormick. We have no oral opponents, and we have written only opponent from Sapphire Lees from Kansas Birth Justice Society. And seeing no other testimony, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 527. Committee, we do have a few bills we'd like, well, a couple things we'd like to work here very quickly. We have the confirmation on Jordan Massey for the State Civil Service Board. I know it's been a couple weeks since we've had her testify, and we'd like to open for any comments on Ms. Massey and see what the will of the committee is on her confirmation. Senator Blasey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did get some follow-up from, I think, the governor's office, or maybe it was research regarding why Joe Massey was taking or filling a seat early, and my understanding is the current occupant is resigning for some various reasons. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move, if you're ready for a motion, that we pass out favorably Jordan Massey for the State Civil Service Board, favorably for passage.
Thank you. We have a motion by Senator Blasey to pass out favorably for confirmation to or recommendation of confirmation to the Senate by Senator Blasey, second by Senator Peterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Ms. Massey is forwarded into the Senate for full consideration. Okay, we want to then turn our attention to House Bill 2783 and have Jason give us a reminder of that particular bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, House Bill 2783 is the bill that would prohibit any state agency, city, or county from regulating or restricting the use or sale of a motor vehicle to the public based on the energy source used to power that motor vehicle. The restriction does not affect any policy by the state agency or the municipality for the purchase and use of any vehicles by the agency or municipality. Simply the regulation and restriction of such vehicles for sale in the public arena, and that is based on the energy source used to power the motor vehicle.
Any questions for Jason on that particular bill? Are there any amendments? I would suggest changing the enactment date on that. Second by Senator Blasey. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. That conceptual amendment passes. Any other amendments or discussion? Seeing none, committee, what is the will of the committee on HB 2783 as amended? Or discussion, either way.
Mr. Chairman, actually, I was wondering, sorry, on the previous amendment that we just put on there, the enactment date, I wonder if we should probably just keep it clean and see if we can just move into the process quicker.
Oh.
If you're okay with that.
Yeah, I think that'd be just fine.
So I'd make a motion to remove the amendment we just put on.
The amendment, okay.
Yeah.
Is there a second to withdraw that? Well, I guess there doesn't have, we'll just withdraw the amendment, so that's it. So we're back on the base bill without the enactment day change. So again, what is the will of the committee on HB 2783?
So Mr. Chairman, I would move that we pass out House Bill 2783 without the amendment.
Okay. Second by Senator Peterson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. House Bill 2783 is passed. Yes, sir. Mr. Senator Longbine, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like the record to reflect that I abstained from that vote.
I understand. Thank you, sir. Senator Longbine abstains from the vote. Next, we will turn our attention to Senate Bill 523 and have Jason give us an overview of 523.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Senate Bill 523 makes amendments to the Personal and Family Protection Act regarding concealed carry licenses. The first amendment is to clean up the criminal offenses that disqualify an individual from obtaining a license so that it would more match what is prohibited under federal law for possession of a firearm. And then the second amendment is to clarify that the Attorney General may deny the renewal of a license if the holder becomes ineligible while they're possessing the license, and also directs the license holder to surrender their license to the Attorney General if the license is suspended or revoked by the Attorney General. If it is merely suspended, then it would be returned to the licensee at the conclusion of that suspension period.
Committee, any questions on this particular bill? Senator Fasquedo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason, so this bill was introduced by the AG's office?
Yes, I believe it was requested by the Attorney General's office.
Thank you.
Cleanup bill, basically, on the conceal and carry. Any other questions? Seeing none, are there any amendments? I would like to put this in a House shell, if we could. Put it into House Bill 2056. So I guess the proper Motion would be move to move the entire contents of Senate Bill 253 into House Bill 2056. Is that the way we would make that motion? Or 523, I'm sorry. So, okay. So the motion is to strike the contents of House Bill 2056 and insert the contents of Senate Bill 523. Do I have a motion to that? Senator Blasey moves. Is there a second? Second by Senator Peterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of that amendment, say aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment carries. Back on the base bill. Any further discussion? Okay, so the motion would be to approve for the passage Senate substitute for House Bill 2056 as no, just Senate substitute for House Bill 2056. I have a motion by Senator Blasey, second by Senator Straub. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. That is all that I had queued up for today, committee. I do plan on working bills the next 2 days. If we get an amendment on Senate Bill 511, which we're waiting on, we may try to work that tomorrow, may also try to work 446, which was the foreign adversaries bill, and whatever little rats and cats I can stir up. 511 is the microbrewery bill, which we did, by the way, have a meeting on last night and have a tentative potential agreement between all parties. So we're just waiting on the go-ahead on that situation. So with that, appreciate the